So this is me. Hope you can see me. And I'll do this. There we go. Okay, hey everyone, how you doing? Let's start by doing a sound check. So if I do like this, I clap, you'll tell me how many milliseconds of audio delay I should add. Is it tight or do we need to sync? Oh, cool. Sound is good. Oh, perfect. Because in OBS it's delayed a bit, but always interesting to live stream. So, okay, thank you guys for joining. This is Midnight Operations, episode 11. And it's been a while. It's great to be back. Great to see you guys. 200 milliseconds before image. Okay, so let's see. Advanced audio properties. I'll try 200. There we go. And now, hey, ja, nu testar vi igen. A little delay, yeah, exactly. Was that better? I added 200, way better. Okay, perfect. Well, that's who was it? It was Patrick. Thank you so much for saving the day. Okay, Sonic Cultura, we said hi before. Hey Alvaro, Alexei, Servando, Monis, Dennis, Richard Garrell, thank you. Gary Costello, Heitner Music, Indigo Windmill, Patrick again, thank you. Koyodot, nice to see you again. Box Light Box, there we go. Long Walker, here we go. Okay, so welcome to Midnight Operations, episode 11. And I say Midnight Operations because the Midnight Operator is no more. We had a naming dispute, so unfortunately, well, it doesn't matter, but we had to change the name. So and then 2020 happened with full force. So it's been a while, but it's great to be back. And the guests today are quite special. I think you've maybe seen the announcement we did. I saw that 2 people have joined already, so let's just get started. I'll make sure we enable grid view, and let's see if we can see the other people. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. And you guys are muted, at least David and maybe Jens also. Yeah, you are. So you go ahead and unmute yourselves.
Hello, unmuted.
There we go.
This is David.
And David here also. Perfect. And I'll press this so we can get full screen view.
You're at the office.
What was that?
Hello.
You're at the office.
What was that?
Office time.
Office time. And if you have the stream up, then mute it on your end, so you just listen on headphones or so. Let's see if we can make sure that this is working properly. Everything looks good. Let me start by introducing you guys. So we have David Møllerstedt, we have Jens Rudberg, we have David Eriksson, and we have another person coming in a while. But so these 3 gentlemen are 3 of the founders of Teenage Engineering, and we thought it would be interesting for everyone to. I mean, we don't see each other that much these days, so it would be nice to say hi and see what you're up to, and maybe do a little look back on the year and also actually the decade, since it's been a while since we started. And this is, as you know, it's very casual, so feel welcomed, and chat is here on the side. And they say hi, hello, and hope you guys are well. So we're in good company. So David Møllerstedt, do you want to start by introducing yourself and your role?
Yeah, I can do. I'm like to see myself as an audio programmer. So that's kind of the hands-on work I've been doing here. Nowadays I do a lot of other stuff as well. But I'm primarily involved with the things that make sound, or when we talk about our speakers, how they make sound. So that's kind of my interest and focus.
How about you, Jens?
I'm more of I'm also interested in sound, as we all are, but my main focus is perhaps the more low-level programming and system design, and that's been my main focus on and off. As David, I have been involved in lots of other stuff within the company during the last decade, but now it's actually mainly back to programming again.
Does that feel good?
Yeah, it's fun.
David Eriksson, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm at the office, me and Ilya. So yeah, like Jens said, we tried to find some fun images this morning from the first garage.
Yeah, I requested some personal highlights, some work-related highlights, and whatever you could find that was cool. If you
I
have
realized
anecdotes,
just how few we were. I mean, that it was us four and one more software guy and you basically.
Well, I came in after Jon Jönsson.
And Jon, of course, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You mean
Johan and Jon.
Johan also.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And
the other day.
But yeah, I mean, back then, obviously, like Jens said, we were all doing like everything. I mean, from cleaning the office to bookkeeping to shipping goods. We even had a pick and pack warehouse at the office, doing all of that stuff ourselves.
Made in
but
Sweden.
Yeah, but it took us roughly like 8 years from when we launched the OP1 until now, when we're actually back on like full-time R&D, doing kind of what we did initially. And then, I mean, that's with anything you do. I mean, eventually it just becomes a lot of administration and just hands-on stuff that has to happen. But I think there was no stress, but now we're at a point where we can do the things we do best again. I forgot to mention, I'm like the hardware guy, so doing the electronics architectures and designs and together with the rest, of course, I think we are 5 now doing electronics. But back then it was just us 4. Basically, I guess we learned by doing when we did OP1. We knew programming a lot, but we didn't know how to build hardware. So that's why it took us 4 years. Was it that long? I think it was that long. We started 2008 or 9 with OP1, and
I checked my old pictures. The first image I have from the garage is from 2008. I have a mini slideshow I can show later with some early pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And even before 2008, you guys were working together. Some of you at least, or you were connected in some ways, right? I mean, we don't have to do the full story, but
we can do the short one.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's dating back to 1999. Me and Jens worked together, and Jesper, that's joining soon, we worked together with online games at the time. We had an online gaming website very early, prior to like iPhones, and it was even prior to when you paid by sending a text message to get like a sound effect or a background image on your phone. So it was very early, and at the time, Electron was already doing drum machines, and the SID station, of course, where David worked. So we started hanging out with David already back then, 1999, 2000, and then we kept in contact. And if we skip like 6-7 years, we moved together in the garage as teenage and started working on the OP1. So, and in between that, we did projects, consulting in mainly programming and software stuff. Not that much hardware. We started building hardware maybe in 2000. What was it, Jens? 6, 7?
Yeah.
For others, not
5,
for
6, 7. Yeah.
What was the main motivation for building hardware? I mean,
I think it's for me, it was about, we'd been consulting for so many years for others, building software stacks or hardwares or like just, industrial design. And at some point it's like, okay, I'm just getting older, but I still don't have something that I can take out of a box 10 or 20 years from now and say, hey, I actually made this, because it, when you do consulting for, let's say, we did a lot in the advertising space. That's like 3 years later, you can't even find it online. It's gone. So it was more about that, like, okay, let's do something for us that we need. We talked about making the OP1, or it actually looked more like a VL Tone in the beginning. It didn't have the color screen. It didn't have, it was a completely different look and feel. But I still have those color, printouts from 99, 2000 with all the sketches. So we might show them at some point. But then it took us 7 to 8 years before we actually got together and dared to do it. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a decision. Should we do this full time? Yes or no? Who's on? And
I think it's something about making an object that people can have and own. And as you say, you can take it out of a drawer many years later and it still works. I mean, for me, we were doing that at Electron already back then. Then I worked some years in games, which was super fun, but also this kind of, you do a CD-ROM or DVD, and in a couple of years, nobody knows what to do with that. It's just obsolete. And to spend that much energy and effort into something that isn't as long-lasting doesn't feel as good. So I really think the hardware aspect of making objects is super important for me.
And this was the period when software synths, plugins were really huge, and I wanted to do something physical that, as you both say, is it works 10 years later. You don't need a certain software or driver or operating system. And it's an instrument, not a plugin.
People are asking why, or if we're surprised that there's no knockoffs of the OP1. There's no clones.
Yeah, I just replied.
You did, yeah.
Darren.
Oh, yeah, I see. Cool. So you have the chat open as well. That's cool. We get some.
We talked about it early. It's like, I mean,
the design has been inspiring a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, when we had the first trade shows, I mean, the first one, the OP1 didn't really exist. It looked like an OP1, but under, this is Frankfurt Music Messe, under the kind of the booth table, it was actually a large circuit board, and to be completely honest, it was almost all fake. It was the real keyboard and the aluminum enclosure, but the hardware was like a bunch of circuit boards that was like more or less evaluation boards for random CPUs.
This was Messe.
But it was at least real hardware. It wasn't a computer. So
no, exactly. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
it wasn't a PC under there. So, but then the next trade show at NAMM, forgot the year, but there was a couple of big guys, like bigger companies, that came to us and said, like, yeah, we're gonna buy your company, we're gonna buy this synth. It's like, no way, we just started. And then I remember us talking about it. It's like, okay, they're gonna clone it instead. But luckily, no one did. And I think it's just like I wrote in the chat. It's just a ridiculous amount of software in there, and it's very. I mean, comparing with a modern MacBook or iPhone, it's not that complicated. But back then it was, and it's very expensive to kind of make a product like that. Being a small company, if you do, 10 or 50 million iPhones a month or whatever they do, it's a completely different thing. But when you're 5 people or 6 in a garage trying to squeeze out something that has kind of the same form factor with color displays, batteries, you name it, my bet is that other companies tried and probably realized we're not going to get the money back of this, because they probably did a standard Excel sheet saying like, okay, in 18 months we need this and that turnover. We never did that kind of business plan. We just like, we're gonna do this, like, no matter if it takes us 3 or 5 years. It's and then that it lasted for 10 years. I mean, it's 10 years in production now.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever anticipated that.
No, did we plan for 10-year lifespan or
No,
production?
not 10 years. But also back then, there wasn't any synths like this. So if you would look at sales numbers of existing products, it was either like really big, expensive things or small, super cheap effect boxes. So if someone would do, like big companies do, serious research on existing sales, they would come up with like more or less zero return for this. But we didn't really think like that.
I usually say that's the teenage part of teenage engineer. We figure out that's what we do. Yeah, people have been looking forward to some images, some slideshows. David, if you want to...
Should I do mine? It's just a few random
visst.
one. I can do... let me see if I can do...
You had some early circuit boards you mentioned.
This is the first image from the garage I have. It's from 2008, 26th of September. I'm sure there is older ones, but it's a lot of stuff, but not so many people.
David in the back, right? And then Jesper.
Jesper, yeah. And then my speakers in the front.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. And a lot of images on the back.
Yeah.
And now this is like a couple of years later. Jens to the left. And then
Johan
and Jon, I guess.
Yes.
And my desk is the one where no one sits because I'm taking the picture. This is typical work in progress, discussing some super important low-level hardware design feature. It looks quite messy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess that's the creative chaos.
I mean, there are more messy pictures than this, but
Yeah. This one is fun. This is Christmas shipping.
Is that
That's OP1 in the
OP1.
boxes.
It's Nicole to the left and our UPS friend, who was our regular.
Miss him.
Yeah. So this was just before Christmas, getting the stuff out.
It looks like a small batch that hour.
Yeah. And then I have some more techie stuff. This is board bring up of the OP1. And I guess this one didn't work, I think, or it was like partly successful. Here's David in action. And then a couple of weeks later,
That's a borrowed scope, by the way. We couldn't afford to buy a fast oscilloscope like that, so we told them like, can we just borrow it to try out if you know, I think it's a LaCroix or something.
Yeah,
Sorry
it's
about that.
LaCroix,
But yeah,
yeah.
we had it for 3-4 days. It was like, yeah, but the good thing is you had to measure everything on that week to get
Yeah.
it done.
Yeah. Then you can go to the next manufacturer and borrow another
Exactly.
scope
So you
for
have
another
like
week.
3.
So we had them all.
It's a
How
good
to
tip
make
to
a
all the hardware
synthesizer.
makers out there. It's like just borrow stuff from Keysight and LaCroix and Tektronix.
And then you have to work really fast. So then a couple of weeks later, we did some patches, I think, and this is the first Hello World from the OP1 DSP board. Yo, dog.
Shout out Synth Dog.
From Jon,
Oh, nice.
looking this happy.
Of course.
And then I took this one as well. After work session from the old kitchen.
So this is Jon Jönsson, and who's in the middle?
It's Yuri,
Yes,
and then it's David.
Mr. Yuri Suzuki.
Yes.
And people were still smoking indoors. And this
Yeah.
is not 1970. This is I don't know.
It's quite recent still.
Mm.
Yeah, that was it. I only.
Did we guys know way back that we were on to something special already then? I mean, did we anticipate, or how much did we anticipate of the OP1 success?
To me, it wasn't clear until we did the first trade show, because we got so much. I mean, like the hardware scene was kind of boring at the time. Like, I mean, either everyone went for like VST plugins, and there was just the start of like all the cheap MIDI controllers. So I think when we showed OP1, there was nothing really new on the trade show. So we got all the press, and then it became obvious that, okay, we're onto something. But I mean, 6-7 years later, I mean, now it's like so much cool new like hardware companies, especially in the modular scene. You know, there's 100 companies doing pretty advanced hardware now. That's still like less than 10 people. So I think that definitely changed throughout the years. But yeah, again, it wasn't the plan to like make big bucks doing this synth. It was more like we had.
I think for me it was like, if we can sell out the first batch that we produce and kind of just get the investment back or like end up at zero, I think I was feeling that's really good. But at the same time, it did feel very special. It felt like we were on to something, also because of the group of people we have gathered. It wasn't like just any random. We had some experience coming into this.
I see you're active in the chat, David. That's cool. 301200. I don't think there will be a Tobii 1 version of any pocket operator, but I've been featured in the videos, so that's fun for me.
Where is the chat? Is that?
It's if you go to the live.
Okay.
In the YouTube
You
channel.
can also pop it up if you only want the chat. I can send you a link if you can find it. So,
I'll have it.
looking back at the 10 years and comparing with last year, I mean, so much have happened during this last year, kind of out of our control. I think we can remain in the decade first. Are there some other highlights that you really think back at and think that was fun, or that was an opportunity that we really did well, or some personal stories, some personal highlights from your years working in teenage engineering.
I mean, what I think one of the most positive things are all the people we have met, all the users and artists, and see what people do with the products and the feedback they have given. I mean, that's have been really encouraging for me.
How close have you been to, when working as a developer, how close have you been with users, beta testers, the community? I suspect it's been shifting.
Yeah, it's been a bit on and off depending on what we have been doing. Sometimes there have been focus on updates and like new features and beta testing. Then there's more interaction with the users. And also during the trade shows, people show up and like want to talk or share something or ask questions. And right now it's not so many trade shows, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
especially the trade shows where, I mean, there's not only business people, but some creative people as well.
The first years at NAMM were fantastic for us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we still have contact with like tons of friends, especially like industry friends, other synth companies, but also musicians. I mean, yes, this kind of remote work thing with Zoom and Google Meet and everything, that works for your existing network. But to meet new friends, I mean, those trade shows were just ridiculous. Like you just end up with, 100 new contacts in your phone. And, I still keep contact with the people we met, like the first NAMM show, 2000, was it 11? So I think it was like, yeah, I really hope that will happen again in some form. I don't know how, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the best we can do at the moment, to really be engaging with people in the chat and talking like this and just sharing information. And but I agree, it's a completely different thing to meet people physically and share stories, share experience, and then share a beer or something afterwards. It's really wonderful, and I'm happy to say or to hear that you're still in touch with people from 10 years ago that we met at the trade show. But I think that's key. I mean, like you said, we want to buy your company. We had a lot of question or like feedback first, but now we're doing our thing. And we over the years we're tying closer connections with our good friends. So it's I think it pays in the end to stay in touch with people. That was a long sentence. Okay, so does anybody else have any pictures they want to show?
I didn't prep anything.
No. Do you have any highlights for the decade, David? Ericsson?
I mean, I was digging for pictures, but I didn't really. I think we have to do we can do a separate session with.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have this weird blog on our website. I think it's still online somewhere.
It is.
As some free blog engine, where when we used to like post, kind of not daily, but at least weekly photos from, it could be us going to booth and set it up in Frankfurt or whatever. I keep finding those, images because I wouldn't call these highlights, but I realized how many Christmas Eves we spent at the shop floor in factories. I mean, OP1 2009 or 10. Me and Jens was in Suzhou in China. Close to
Actually,
Shanghai.
that was 10 years ago today.
That was 10 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
built
like-
the first 5 OP1s.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that. I was
Because-
back almost alone in the office.
Exactly, because NAMM is in January, so you had to have everything working and ready. So that's why you spend, last weeks of December to just get everything to work. So, and then I think it was quite soon after. I forgot how many years it was, but we did this hi-fi speaker called ep11. Then me and David spent Christmas Eve in China, actually at the plastic injection shop, like trying to figure out why their machines wasn't performing as we
Yeah.
wanted.
And we were staying in this huge hotel there, which was completely empty, with a big Christmas tree with fake present underneath.
Yeah. So
In
I think
Chang'an.
Oh, the Christmas spirit.
maybe not highlights, but it's the
Memorable.
memories. Like, what did I do like last Christmas or the Christmas before that? It's usually like, yeah, we spent that in building something in a plant. Easy. You don't have to cook Christmas food all day. But I love to show pictures from that at some point. But yeah, a lot of fun memories from doing that. I mean, we still do it, but now it might be more planned out. We have more structure now, so we don't have to work 24/7 the last 3 weeks. Or actually, we still do, but
We still do. Yeah. Okay, so, or David, did you have any special thing in mind?
Well, highlights or lowlights, or what
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
want to have?
Both.
But I think always a highlight for me is hearing what others do with the synth engines I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend lots and lots of time doing a synth engine and trying to get it sound interesting. And then when it's finished and we put it out in the world, immediately other people do much more interesting things with it, even if I made it and should be able to get the most out of it. But it's so amazing and fun to hear. I think that is probably the best part of what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's great. We make the tools and the operators use it. It's
Yep.
great. Jens, you had a special something to show. We have a question. Meanwhile, the first one of the first units that you had, Jens.
Yeah, found it. This is one of the 5 that we made 10 years ago.
Looks crisp.
And it's still the synth it's missing the hatch. But otherwise, it still performs as it should, which
It
is
doesn't have the logo
kind of fun.
on the right? Or not the logo, the OP1. It's blank, right? From the first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. I remember I put a sticker on mine to say OP1.
Is it one of those that are painted with another process, or is it?
Yeah, they were wet painted. Because there wasn't time, I think, to have them painted. So we assembled them at the factory with the bare aluminum body, and then we brought them home, disassembled everything, and spray painted them. And then reassembled them again in time for the NAMM show. And I think we took them apart again and updated the firmware just before the show.
How about during the show? I remember that. Doing fixes during the show? Or between days at least? Or I don't know.
Yeah, we did. did program in the evenings and like prepare everything. And we just had those 5. I don't remember if all 5 were working.
I think I have one where the paint is kind of different.
Mm.
But
I have
I'm not
number
sure where
45,
mine with the
so-
dev port is, because we used to have one each with the dev port underneath with a hole in it.
Yeah, I have 1 or 2, I think,
You have 2?
in a box. Yeah.
Maybe garage sale.
Saving for the future.
Yeah.
We had a question about the R. Will that be available anytime soon? Our magic robot.
Not what we know. From Baidu side, they didn't want to
You mean this
continue with
one?
that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Look at that.
We still want to do it,
Show off.
but it's a little unclear how we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But it's
I don't know.
it's a nice one.
Yeah, I miss it.
I posted something on my Facebook feed today about dancing robots. Did you see that? Boston, what's it called? Boston Robotics or whatever. They had
I don't know.
quite some nice moves, but I think our R is really smooth operator.
And this R that David just showed is from spare parts from the one we built. So this is like I think it's the only existing one in the Western world.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have to change that somehow. And chat, you will be the first to know when we have more info. Stay tuned. Okay, how about this year then? It's been, for me, it's been crazy. How about for you guys?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I just checked who. There was a question: who owned the first OP1?
Yeah. I mentioned I have number 45. That's my.
By serial number.
Mm-hmm. Well.
By
yeah.
serial. Okay.
What we should be able to check.
The first order that we received in January 13,
My birthday.
2011. Yeah, it was a guy called.
You want to
Derek.
share, or is it secret?
I will not say his full
That's
name.
cool, that's
but
cool.
he got number
There,
14.
Thank you. Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun tradition. My birthday is usually around NAMM time, so for many years I celebrated that with this group of nice people, usually at Bubba Gump.
Doing the birthday dance.
Yep. No pictures of that, please.
We have plenty pictures. I'm sure Emil has a lot of videos as well.
Top secret.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, anything else in chat we want to address? You're moderating for me. That's perfect.
Let me see. Voice control.
For the R, right? Voice control.
Yeah. I mean that was the whole plan, to do it like smart speaker style. It wasn't on Android. It was on the Baidu AI Chinese system.
Yeah. We got a question from Koyodot. If the OP1 will do something new now when it's 10 years old. I mean, most of the 10-year-old synth still works, so that's a bonus. With if you build a modern, portable device nowadays, no one expects it to last more than a phone. It's just silly. I mean, it's like 2 years. They work longer, but you're expected to change. Laptops do maybe 5 years today, but yeah, I would never expect OP1 to hold up that long. But yes, of course, we will keep working on the OP1. It's our by far like the hero product that we have. We can't show anything, but I mean, we have started so many times to like see kind of, are we going to change it? Are we going to do the same again? Or, there's no stress, because I think when it's kind of like a Fender guitar or something, it's done. remember going to, I think it was me and Tom, our ME and ID guy. We went to, what's his name? He's kind of famous in doing movie scores. German guy.
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer. He wanted to meet like after NAMM once, and I was like kind of talking about the OP1 because he really used it a lot for I think it was Spider-Man 2, putting on all the sound effects just as kind of the device to work really quick. And I said, yeah, we have these new updates coming, and he got really pissed. It's like, don't change it. It's done. Like, move on, do something new. It's like, don't. Yeah, it's just the worst thing when you add too many features, and eventually it just gonna get slower. And but of course, fixing bugs, adding maybe new synth engines makes a lot of sense. But I think he was more worried about like.
Any more games coming, Jens?
We'll
How about
see.
Snake?
It's hard to find the time to make games
Well, yeah.
for the synths. It's not always top priority.
But I think we added a lot of stuff in the early days for the OP1 because we felt there was a need for that, and it felt like we could still expand the Sonic palette quite a lot. Now it feels we kind of covered a lot of areas that works well in that format. There's still probably room for some more stuff, but I think we've been slower on purpose because it needs to fit in and make sense. We don't want to add stuff just for the sake of adding.
And yeah, we get a sort of funky chunky asked about SDKs and stuff. Yeah, we talk about it like every second year. It's like, yeah, should we open source this? Should we? I mean, we did this thing called OpLab. That was the intention of that was kind of an Arduino for the MIDI music world.
And this is the original OpLab, not the module. That was
not the module for OPC. This is like a square-looking board that had headers, and theoretically you could program on it. But I think it was the wrong focus for us because to maintain an open source project is so much work. I mean, the successful ones out there. I don't know which one to mention, but yeah, there's a few. It's just like an incredible stamina by the maintainers of those like GitHub repositories to like answer questions daily, merging stuff. So we didn't dare to do it. It's more about that. It's not like we're worried to show the source code, but yeah.
I would say also the OP1 is not in any way built to be open sourced. It's like bare metal. Any line of code could completely mess up the whole synth at any time. If we would do something like the iPhone, where you have your own memory space and someone takes care if you use too much CPU or memory or write somewhere else, then it's fine. But this kind of machine, the only way I think it would be interesting or workable for others to code on the OP1 is to start from scratch, just with a black screen and nothing else. And I'm not sure that's so interesting. I think what's tempting is probably to be able to write synthesis and stuff. But you have to follow very, very strict implicit rules to not mess up.
How about other projects like the OPZ? Has that?
I mean, I just wrote on the chat. I mean, if we just cover the OP1 first, I mean, there is in the COM mode. I mean, we have support for like propeller heads, Reason, and Ableton, and stuff like that. And I think it was you, David, that added. There's a MIDI mode where you can actually not draw graphics, but you can draw text, like ASCII art text. And I've seen some companies using the OP1 as kind of the controller, utilizing that screen to configure devices without the screen, like the RetroKits. Forgot the number, but it's a sync box they do. Pretty impressive that they're probably the only ones that did it. OPC, same thing. I mean, we didn't really document our Bluetooth LE protocol, but people, since it's open, you can see what goes between the device and your computer. People have built a lot of fun stuff, and it's partly open with the video packs and Unity things that we do for OPC. So I think OPC is probably the first time where we invited external people to do code, but it doesn't necessarily run on OPC. That code runs on your Mac or iOS device or Android. So I think in the near term, no promises, but allowing people to control over Bluetooth LE, which is already possible, but maybe as part of our user manuals, it's like, here's some basic stuff, here's how to change the tempo or trigger play pause. I'm very open to that, but again, it's a lot of work, and it's maybe 1 in 1,000 that actually uses stuff like that, but it's very, very tempting.
We are those 1 in 1,000 ourselves. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So you have to pick. Either we spend time on that, or we make a new synth engine for some upcoming synth. We're not that many.
So I asked before about your year. How has it been for you to work remote? Jens, how about you? You started a bit before last year as well, right? Working from home a little bit.
Yeah, since I live furthest away from the office, I've been working home like a day or two every week, but it's not comparable to what we have seen since this spring. In some ways it is good for productivity because you can focus perhaps more sometimes, but also it's bad because the collaboration with the other people, even if you can hang out in different ways remotely, it's not comparable to what you do when in the office, when everybody is in the same space. So I really hope that we can go back to a more normal state really soon.
How about you, Mellerstedt?
I'm hoping for next year. It's been, as Jan said, I think it's okay to work with the people you already are tight with. That's fine, but part of this is also meeting new people and getting to know others and learning stuff, and that's been much trickier, I think, this year. Also, just being able to travel and meet up people and see what they are doing firsthand. So yeah, I'm hoping for next year. I saw a question about OPC. I think we should release some stuff for the OPC. I've done some work that isn't released. We'll see if that makes it out. Maybe it's too weird, and maybe that's not what people want. I'm not sure what people want.
Well, we can ask what people want. I know a lot of people have been wanting multi-track USB audio. We have stereo right now.
That's multi-track.
That is multi-track. There you go, guys.
Mono, stereo, multi.
Yeah.
What do you say, Jens?
There's a lot of.
I guess it's a number somewhere in.
Yeah.
Change
just
the two.
change
Yeah,
the
I have
number.
to find that 2 and change it to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot where it is.
It needs to be the right 2 you're changing, otherwise things could get.
Yeah, it's part to make sure the drivers are stable, but also conceptually how to manage the tracks. and what should be sent out and received, and how it should be controlled, which need to be done. So we're thinking
we're
of
speaking
it.
about OP1 and its 10 years so far lifespan. OPC is very young in that regard. So how do we see OPC? Is it a platform like our products usually are that we build on, or is it more it's soon finished and then we're gonna move on? Can
I think we just like got started. I mean, we have to remember that it took many years before like the OP1. I mean, we sold very few in the beginning because we couldn't produce that many.
Exactly.
It was always something that kind of hold ups. We weren't really like prepared to manufacture something at that level of complexity. So I think maybe OP1 got like the most users and a number of updates from us like year 3 or 4. And then we kept going for like we had an update every 6 months or so, like for a couple of years. So I mean, if you take the OPC, as some of you know, it's a guy called Jonas that has been the owner and main software lead on that project, and he's constantly working on new features. And we I don't think it's a secret, right? We obviously will do more modules, like because that was kind of our platform to kind of add feature sets to connect to the outside world. I mean, we have the OpLab for OPC module, which is for CV gate, MIDI in, MIDI out, and we have a new one coming that's still not revealed, but that's going to add similar functionality that I think people will like. So it's definitely we just had to wait a little bit to see kind of where we wanted to go with it, and focus has been mainly on trying to get the community that runs, which I believe we have super nice people hanging out on the OPC forum, and also a lot of people doing like video packs and stuff like that. So I would say it's the first time we do a community kind of driven machine, and I think we should do more about that. I mean, I saw someone asking in the chat that we need to rework the way the sample and plug management, and of course that was never built to kind of add, because the OPC doesn't have a display. We kind of had to have an app. It's to allow you to configure the synth a little bit more, and then there's a lot of hidden configuration that you can change in text files. That's something you can find on the mass storage device when you update it to configure it even more. But I agree, we definitely want to make more, in terms of like how do you transfer a sample to it or from it, or how do you move things around or configure your effects section. The only challenge is, of course, that we don't want to depend on an iPhone or an Android device, because we're a hardware company and we want most of it to be able to be done on the device itself. So I think that's a big challenge. Like how do you add features without adding too many complicated like shift key combos,
5-finger combinations.
Exactly. I think we're already up at like 3+1, like
yeah, Konami code. Well, yeah, you said you started with saying we're just getting started, and I've been using that phrase for my first few years, and I feel every new year there's so much more to do and so much bigger potential. So I still feel, or right now at least, I feel like I'm just getting started. You talked also about community driven, and the goal for Midnight Operations going forward is definitely to involve the community much more and to make it a community community celebration. So and we have personally I have a lot to learn. So I'm just getting started. I'm coming up on my 10th year. It's 9.5 now. So I look forward to another 10 eventually. It feels
Amazing.
really cool.
Mm.
The
Exactly.
music paused. I'm gonna start that.
That's super. No, but I think also like it's we see every machine that we do as like a standalone device that has to be fun out of the box without any like configuration needs or like mapping buttons to some sort of effect or stuff like that. And then, you know, one layer below there is like tons of features to modulate things, and then maybe we offer even one more layer for users to configure stuff, especially on the OPC. But we haven't really done, you know, synth to synth just yet, mainly because we don't think. I mean, most of our customers, maybe you own a few pocket operators or you have an OP1. Very few have all three, like, or maybe the plus the modular. So I think it's you can connect them together, but you have to know a little bit about sync and MIDI and USB, you know, breakout boxes to make it work. I think that's more of a challenge to kind of solve from a user experience perspective. I know now that MIDI 2.0 just got officially like signed off. This is how it's going to work.
I saw the photo.
Yeah. Part of that is actually to allow for kind of auto configuration. If you, let's say you connect an OPC with an OP1 or an OPC with another synthesizer from another company, as of today, there's no way to kind of agree on what knob should control what, how should they interact together. I mean, usually you end up with a MIDI mapping table. The thing that still works is the old MIDI 1.0, which is like play, pause, tempo, stuff like that. But I think the next level, which some people might be asking for, is hopefully something that we can rely on as standard rather than building something proprietary to Teenage, because it's just going to make things more fun. I mean, the more synths you can connect on various vendors that just works together is great.
You say that's great, and you say it as something given, something obvious. And for us, it is obvious, right? We're not, you know, trying to exclude others. I mean, of course, we want to make the best synthesizers, but we want to be compatible. Is that what you mean?
But
Exactly.
It's always been like that. I mean, we don't imagine that people only buy our gear. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If we can be part of the creative process, that's great. But obviously, people are gonna put stuff into a computer at some point, or there's other instruments involved. So of course, we want to play with others. And I think that's also what makes kind of the synth world so nice, because it is about doing stuff together.
Exactly. And I think also like with the MIDI BLE or MIDI over Bluetooth low energy, that standard is usually, I mean, it's designed to work together with a Mac OS or iOS device primarily, where they are kind of the hub where you can, so you have two maybe hardware devices that talks through your iPad. We had to take our own approach to how our stuff works. So, and at the time there was no standard. So the way we synchronized like the OPC app with the OPC hardware is something we built from the ground up to even make that possible. We're actually running the same code distributed on the two machines, and then we synchronize because the bandwidth is so low on Bluetooth LE. But that, you know, that foundation plus maybe MIDI 2.0 could open up for doing, you know, synth to synth communication, stuff like that in the future. But we'll see. We're experimenting a lot with this, but it's always down to like, is it usable? Is it user friendly? You know, you don't want to confuse people with too many configuration options or alternatives, because then you kind of lose the majority of our users.
And you want people to dare to play live with the stuff, so it can't be too fragile.
Exactly, that too. That's why we made the op lab in the beginning. But I think there are some great alternatives out there now that do similar things.
Great talking, guys. We were hoping for another guest, but he's a bit delayed.
Let me send him a text and check. He had a
let's just
meeting.
I saw a question doing a worthy Sonab OA14 speaker successor. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I need one.
David, how about the OB4? You were involved a lot in...
Me, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was involved a lot on the audio side of that. With kind of the experience from the OD11 and putting that into a smaller form factor. It's actually super challenging to get any decent bass out of a box that's that thin. But we wanted that for the look and feel of it. So we had to work hard and do some tricks to get some decent bass out of that. And then the other thing was to get okay stereo width out of it, because I think many of these smaller Bluetooth speakers, they kind of accept their mono more or less, or have some weird stereo. I think we managed to get really nice stereo width and good bass out of that box. So that was fun, and I think that's where I contributed together with a lot of others.
And that has BLE as well.
Yes.
I mean, the remote we did, that's like a small pack for the OD11 that obviously works with the OB4 that we designed. What is it, 5 years later? So you could pair actually one or many of those with that. You can actually pair the OPC with the OB4, but I don't think it does anything right now.
Well, right now might be the keyword here. People are asking for Jonas.
He's on holiday for Christmas vacation.
It's another guy we're waiting. It's a guy, but we're waiting for Jesper. Let's see if he can see the text that David sent.
Yes, the remote works for OPC, right?
No, not right now. The OPC is a device.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
The remote.
Tonic.
So you need to have a central and connect both of them, and then you can route the MIDI.
Right. We have it working internally.
Yeah,
so
like we said, we are one of those 1,000 users that only use specific stuff. So usually, but once in a while when we play our Teenage Engineering sound system gigs or other gigs, we might run into a use case that is very specific, but is something that we need for the gig. And we are very fortunate to be able to sometimes create that on the fly. Usually regarding sync issues when playing together in a chaotic setup that is the Teenage Engineering sound system. Jens, have you played in the band?
Me?
Who?
Yeah, Jens?
No, actually I haven't.
Not yet, okay. Interesting. But let's hope we can do more physical stuff, physical workshops, performances, get-togethers in the future. We opened a showroom at Scandinavian Photo here in Stockholm that we kind of just started visiting and teaching from, but it's on hold right now, that also. David, how has it been? David Erickson, how has it been for you working remote? How have you managed the year?
I think it's been quite good for me. I mean, we obviously rely on a lot of like test equipment and, you know, the soldering room, and so we go here every now and then because we all live quite close to the office. We don't have to like commute, and so I mean, it feels fairly okay to walk across the bridge and
Yeah.
and go here. And we've
Stockholm
been like
is quite
at
small.
most maybe 3-4 people when we need to do like board bring up and things like that. So I think it's probably been giving people more focus. I think it's been good.
Yeah, for me, I'm enjoying working from home now, but setting up the video streaming from home has been interesting. We did 10 episodes of Midnight Operations first, and that was a great start and a great learning experience, but it was also a bit stressful for me, so I couldn't really do it to the extent that I wanted to. And then I had a breakdown, so I had to get back up before I could get out again. But I feel good, and I really think that next year is gonna be amazing. I really, there's so much stuff that we want to do and we want to share with you. I know everybody here is just dying to tell you, and I guess it's kind of good that Jesper isn't here, because then we wouldn't have any news. He would spill everything.
True that.
Yeah. Well, let's see if there are some more questions. Otherwise, we have been at this for an hour now, and I said to you, Mellerstedt, an hour tops. So Funky Junkie says we want more stuff. Well, we can guarantee you'll get some, but you'll have to stay tuned to see what's up.
PO40 series.
Yeah, that could be cool.
PO50 with
I saw a question about the bike very early up as well in the chat, and it came back now. The bike.
Yeah, all the bike. I found those pictures this morning as well. We sold all the bikes
at the garage
sale.
Yeah.
So that was the end of the bike.
Yeah, I think that project is out. There's other people doing bikes now.
Yeah.
I think on that one we were a bit too early because there wasn't like any stuff around.
That's part of the reason why I wanted to start at Teenage Engineer. Oh, they make a cool bike. I want to start there. So, well, you made some other stuff that kept me going. I can answer one question here. Was filming the PO133 promo like? That was really cool. We have a space where we drove the car, or we had the car parked, and then we had this suit and helmet and gear, and it's a really cool car, but it's quite small, so I could barely fit, but it was interesting, and
you're quite tall.
Yeah, I'm a bit tall, so it was funny. I know the day before, Jesper, Emil, and who was it? Forget. They went to the racetrack and drove it. I didn't drive it at that time, but it was a fun experience for everybody. And I think the result, the video and the reception of the PO133 was very successful. A lot of people have been asking for more game-themed units. Do you have something coming up? Any of you? Like Castlevania, I remember somebody said. What's your favorite franchise that we want to...
I mean, there's many out there, but I think maybe we should do some other stuff. I mean, it was 1 year of cartoons, and now we've done this. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we'll
I mean, there isn't really anything planned, so it's not about being secretive.
No,
I mean, there was actually a big, to me, like the biggest update to Pocket Operators for a long time. It happened on Christmas Eve when,
Yes.
I don't know if you all saw it, but Magnus at Sonic Charge that actually made the software for it released something called Vintage Microtonic for his VST and audio unit app, where he recreated a bunch of classic drum machines using machine learning. So it's still the same synthesis behind the scenes, but like fast computers in his brother's garage has been like figuring out how to, you know, set all the parameters to make them sound exactly like a CR rhythm box or like 808 or even 909. So now you can actually, if you upgrade to his new plug, you can transfer those sounds to the Tonic, the Pocket Operator hardware.
Actually,
so you can
also
actually
to
get
the
your PO.
PO35 as well.
Yes, and that too.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and it sounds really good. So you can get a Pocket Operator with 808 and 909 for people that still
He's
use those
quite
sounds.
talented, Magnus.
Yeah, and his computers have been working for years on this machine learning process. I was actually going to finish with that. Thank you, David. It's a great asset. We will post that in the link. So if you haven't downloaded it already and transferred it, you got yourself. I don't know how many different machines there are, but like
It's a bunch.
yeah. So Merry Christmas to us and you. 808 Pocket Operator. Yeah, there you go. Magnus did it for us.
Yep. PO Pac-Man done. Yeah, we'll see.
I think this is a good time to say goodbye for now. I will happily invite you all back very soon in the next year. Yeah, maybe Jens, do you want to tinkle the ivory, play some piano for us?
I'm hooked into a wire here. I
Yeah,
can't
okay.
move that far.
Oh, how unfortunate.
Yeah.
The music we've been listening to is from a playlist, a TE operator playlist that I just put together. So if you make content and use the hashtag TE operator, we will see whatever you do. And there's some amazing stuff out, like Jens mentioned. People, and you also, David. We make the tools, and you guys make love through them. It's amazing. It's an honor to be able to do this and bring this tools to the world. With that, any final words for 2020?
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year, and let's do this again soon.
Yes.
Gott slut.
Gott slut. I heard on radio that there was a
Don't
lady.
translate that.
Yeah. She didn't want us to say Gott slut because it could be offensive to old people. God avslutning på det nya året. Whatever.
Good fortsättning.
Exactly. So here's to another 10 years. Thank you, chat, for joining in. Thank you, David Möllerstedt, David Eriksson, and Jens Rudberg. We'll come back with Jesper Kautoft some other time. But for now, thank you and goodbye. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Tack Tobias. Hej då.
Bye.
Tack Tobbe. Bye.
Tack Tobbe.
Oh, aren't we cute? Okay, so like I said, this was the first. Oh, let me see. There we go. First of or the last of the 2020 editions of Midnight Operations. And like I said, I want to do more community stuff. So I'll be back, and hopefully we can showcase all your great music and showcase your video packs. Showcase. Oh, did you see you can play? Well, it wasn't Tetris. Yeah, it was Tetris. You can play Tetris with the OPZ. That's crazy. So have a good one. Gott nytt år, and Take care of yourselves. See you guys soon. Bye.